Alright boys, we have the full details of the most recent Pokemon Unite patch, and some of the numbers in here may surprise you, so that's what we're going to be breaking down. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts down below. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of opinions about this one, so let's get into it with Pikachu getting an interesting buff. So Thunder is getting buffed from 18 to 20% special attack per hit and then 30 damage per hit. But remember, Thunder hits 5 times in the area. Now you're not really guaranteed to get all 5 hits, but if you do, it doesn't even seem like that much damage. 10 special attack? Let's play around with the slider for a bit. All right, level 8, 355, so 35 damage and then 30 per hit. So you can't... I don't even know, man. That's like 180 damage. Does 180 damage break Pikachu at level 8? No. What's the cooldown on Thunder? 7.6 seconds because you're baked in cooldowns, like flat 8 seconds. I don't know about that one, Chief. Also, we have Volt Tackle getting a bit of a ratio. 4%, 1 damage per level, and then 40 on the base. And Volt Tackle is also going to be 5 hits. Now, I think Volt Tackle over Thunderbolt got a bit more interesting, but I mean, like, look at that. This, even after the buff, the Volt Tackle damage is going to be slightly more. Now, the displacement is what makes Volt Tackle really good, but Pikachu is, like, super squishy, so I don't know if Pikachu makes it work. If he does, cool. If not, it's just, like, how did the devs think that Electro Ball Thunderbolt was, like, A tier, A plus tier Pikachu, and that he didn't need any kind of buff anywhere else? I still think the Electro Ball is really strong because of that execute damage. It just really helps. You really feel it, and the spam ability on the 5-second cooldown, like, it's going to come in clutch and it's going to KO the opponent when you need it to. But that's it on the Pikachu. So alt moveset got buffed barely. Slowbro still sucks, is like a non-champion. Amnesia getting buffed isn't what Slowbro needed, especially because if Slowbro's running Amnesia moveset, you just completely ignore it, and then you're fine, and then you win the game. Now, Gengar. Here is where we start getting into some of the interesting numbers. Just 12.5% spell vamp at level 5. I thought there was going to be some scaling stuff, like 5% at level 5, 10% at level 9, and then 15% at level 13. Nah, you just get a huge chunk of spell vamp at level 5. That's first gank. Does it change Gengar? Maybe? I don't know if that's enough damage, because Gengar's problem isn't the getting blown up before it heals enough, even though this does synergize with the Dream Eater Shadow Ball moveset. But even then, that moveset kind of turns it into an Absol that plays kind of the same but differently, and it doesn't really work because in team fights, like Gengar doesn't find the opportunity to succeed with that moveset super hard. Could work in picks, though. Rotom did get buffed. It's like Gengar using that to secure Rotom and then just kind of like pushing out 1 or 2 people with Rotom on that moveset. Because if you get the reset on it, you get a KO. Like, it's kind of like a 2-ish KO rotation if you get it right, and then like thread it in with your Unite move and make a lot of weird stuff happen. So there could be something there in split push scenarios, but if Drednaw is still super OP even after the nerf and everything is about Zapdos, then if the meta hasn't changed, you're still want to run Hex. And I don't think Gengar needed 12% healing off of Hex damage to now become like super strong again. The thing is, Hex got nerfed to have counterplay, so that's just kind of where Gengar exists, and it's also really bad into a lot of common compositions because crowd control is so heavy. So let's see what we got on the Blastoise. Hydro Pump getting nerfed, and also the upgraded one getting nerfed. So we're just going to skip over that, and we're going to mostly look at like the base Hydro Pump, since that's mostly what we're going to be dealing with. A bit of a ratio touch, a little bit of a loss of damage per level, a slight touch on the base, and remember, it hits 3 times. So, I mean, it's losing a few hundred damage if you're getting, like, a full Hydro Pump to the face. And I think that can be meaningful on a tank. So, it's like, if we're talking about Pikachu barely getting any damage and Blastoise losing a little bit of damage, like, yeah, something's here. It makes it to where Blastoise just isn't as insane. And then Water Spout getting a buff. So, it seems like the devs really like where Rapid Spout is and kind of where it was. Now, it being able to auto attack while doing rapid spin, that was a bug that got fixed out, and now you don't see rapid spout as much, so they're lowering the cooldown to bring it in line towards, like, yeah, you can get those setups a bit more. You go water spout, Rapid Spin, that resets the cooldown. You Water Spout while Rapid Spinning, you come out, and then you land another Water Spout somewhere, and you're just going to kind of layer that damage. So they don't want it to do more damage. They don't want to put it back to where Blastoise was when it was taking over the game and it was meta warping with the bug, but they want to make it to where that moveset is slightly more viable by de-incentivizing Hydro Pump and then making it to where Water Spout looks a bit better. Now, the Unite move. Holy crap, that is a nerf. So we're actually losing a big chunk on the ratio, 55%. Now remember, Blastoise, when it's in its Torrent ability, is going to be getting special attack and stuff, so it's going to feel that cut. It's definitely going to feel the 9 per level, so I mean, using it at level 10, and there's like a -1 in here, but that's almost 100 damage gone, and then the base getting cut down by 350. So, like, it doesn't burst people anymore. Good. Blastoise, the Blastoise Unite move lost like 600 damage. Really, like, that was needed. The range on it is unholy for what it provides. A massive knockup, and then it just does, like, over 2,000 damage to Squish. Like, it'll do, like, 2,500. Like, it does half of a Squishy's health. And Blastoise still, like, catches them inside of ranged auto attacks or something, like auto attack range or something. It was too much. So yeah, we're going to be losing a good chunk of damage off that. Blastoise doesn't burst and one-shot people anymore. Also, that compared with the Hydro Pump damage means, yeah, like, it's good now. I still think it's A tier because, like, you're supposed to be a tank. You're supposed to be there for the disruption, and the damage is complementary. I don't know why the Unite move wasn't nerfed sooner. Like, just throw it in with the Sylveon patch. Throw it in with the mobile release, because that need to happen. And honestly, I thought that it could use a little bit of a range tuning down, but if it's losing this much damage, then fine, let it hit off screen, or let it take up the full screen, but still be pretty decent. Venusaur. So Venusaur, feeling like it's getting a smaller nerf than Blastoise. Damage resistance, it got buffed from 25% to 40%. They didn't revert it, and they only knocked it down to 35%. So 5% less damage resistance, it's effectively as tanky. The healing also going down very slightly negligibly. I guess, like, over the course of 3 Giga Drains, it slightly, maybe barely doesn't matter, because, like, okay, it's 200 health after 3 Giga Drains from, like, Giga Drain, Petal Dance resets, and then, like, stuff like that. So I don't know. Also buffing Solar Beam to incentivize going back into that moveset. Venusaur barely got touched. I don't know what to say. Venusaur is mostly a pub stomper. I still think it's massively overrated. The problem is kids just int into it in lane and then get it ahead. If Venusaur doesn't get ahead, it's like the most useless Pokemon in the game. If Venusaur does get ahead, it's one of the most oppressive, unstoppable Pokemon in the game. I think that the way that Venusaur's kit is designed, it's impossible for the Pokemon to be balanced. It's either going to be frustrating to play against, or like has that super high like potential, or just has one of the lowest floors and then it's just like a completely trash, useless Pokemon. It took like 3 buffs. Like Venusaur just kept on getting buffed until now it's like, okay, now it's a problem if it gets fed. But they didn't buff any like the Bulbasaur early game stuff, right? So it's in a weird spot, and now, like, I guess this means that those, like, the 5% of games where Venusaur is running you over, maybe it doesn't anymore. So if we're kind of like doing League of Legends balancing things, like, yeah, that's a 0.5% win rate. Gonna bring Venusaur in line, you know, talk like that. Now, Lucario got a power-up punch rework, and I guess that was the whole bug fix thing, to where it was boosting your attack when using power punch, which caused like the damage to scale weird, but then that could be applied to the Unite move if used immediately after. And maybe that was also why Close Combat might have overperformed, because you're just getting so much extra attack inside of it. And that shouldn't have happened. Power Punch is just for the auto attack, not the abilities. And even though Extreme Speed has always been the best moveset, even going back to Nintendo Switch launch, this is going to be like an interesting change, and now Power Punch just doesn't have weird, nonsensical interactions. The biggest thing to look at is the attack nerf, and Lucario did not get gutted. So, Lucario mains, you lost 11 attack. You lost less than an attack weight score at max level. And then, like, 10 in most applicable situations. And losing 6 in level 3, level 4, even level 5, that's, like, not even 20 steadfast shield health. That's not even... you know, it's like 10, 20 damage-ish on like quick attack, Meteor Mash. So really, we're going to see how big the Steadfast nerf is, and I honestly think this is what ruins Lucario. Like, Lucario is as powerful, but it's not as powerful as often as it was. Because if you actually break Steadfast, that's huge. That's meaningful. Like, Vespiquen fight before Drednaw on the bot side, if you get that Steadfast going, now it's not going to have it for the Drednaw fight. So you can actually counterplay the Lucario. If it's trying to like do some Score Shield shenanigans, Score Shield is bad, never run it, it's trash, it's an awful strategy, only bad players play it to beat up on worse players, and that means nothing. Score Shield Lucario is just an int. It's troll, it sucks. So, now that that's happening, this makes Score Shield top Lucario a lot harder to pull off, because normally it was break the Steadfast shield, by the time your jungle comes over, Lucario has Steadfast back up, and then you can't break it. Now, Lucario is going to be vulnerable in a lot of situations. Solo top, 2-1-2, all kinds of other weirdness. We're going to see if this is like a huge impact, and this might be a huge impact to the Lucario. I'm also wondering if that means like other weird things where now Focus Band needs to be incentivized to kind of fill in some of the breakpoints. But what this could mean is that like Lucario dies one more time on average, gets one less score, is half a level behind, and like a half level experience could end up being just a level down or a level behind where it was, so maybe even with opponents. Like, it's one of those things where if Lucario trips and skins its knee because of the Steadfast thing, now it doesn't take over the game. It's that simple, and it could be off of a change this small mixed with a little bit of like this. Because if you're using like 10 extreme speeds in a fight, okay, now you lost a couple hundred damage. Weird stuff. Power punch change is wacky, but shouldn't be running it, but now it doesn't have weird interactions. Garchomp. Attack speed, not really too insane. Ignore this flavor text. Normally it feels very wrong and very off, and it's also like getting very memeable, because what was it about Venusaur? Where it was like, yeah, Venusaur got a small quality of life, probably small quality of life changes, little buffs here and there, a little splash to make him more in line with his colleagues, nothing special to write home about. Now that movement speed increase and that cooldown reduction is the only thing that made it viable. So we got that going on. And like Garchomp, the attack speed is nice, but like if Garchomp goes from D tier to A tier, like some people are just gonna be like, oh, if it's A tier now, it's S tier now. It's not because of that. It's because Garchomp was always at least A tier. People just don't know how to play it right. Like, you have to be very careful, but also very aggro and very Chad and very limity on, like, how the Gible works. And you also have to know the very specific strategies to make it succeed. But people don't do that, so they just, like, end. And then they also, like, wander off. That's the biggest problem with Garchomps, is that they wander off, they stop team fighting, and then they don't play to get that one level that they need. They don't get that team fight win that snowballs everyone, which only helps out Garchomp. So it's like, yeah, Garchomp feels like they're down and they need to evolve. So then your team loses the fight because it's a 4v5. Garchomp is like taking Audinos or stealing camps from the jungle or doing just weird stuff that doesn't make sense. And then Garchomp puts himself behind and his team behind and then loses the game in one foul swoop in what, 5 minutes 30 seconds in, 6 minutes, not 5 minutes 30 seconds in, like 6 minutes on the clock, 5 minutes 30 seconds on the clock. It's bad players making Garchomp bad, not Garchomp. Garchomp's always been A tier. I say A plus tier. This just makes him a more better A plus tier. Remember, PSA, Garchomp Giga Spikes at level 9 before it's Garchomp. Look at this, crit rate 10%, lifesteal 5%. If you're a level 9 Garchomp and you're away from a team fight because you're trying to find the experience to get to level 10 and then show up with your Ignite move, you're trolling. You don't understand this Pokemon. Why are you even playing it then if you refuse to refuse to look at the stats and figure out how your character works? This is where you need to be fighting. You need to fight at your level 9. And then you just carry it from there, because that's the thing, like, Gible is still really strong. If you think Gibble's a bad laner, you have bad game sense. If you're trying to, like, avoid certain confrontations on Gabite instead of looking for opportunities, dude, if Gabite can get into a fight when after everyone blows cooldowns, it's a mini Garchomp. It's still going, like, if it gets 5 stacks, it's just still going to crush people, and it can then start going, like, crit rate and lifesteal and boosted attacks, and then it's still a nuts Pokemon. So that's why I'm like, maybe this is just one of those placebo buffs where it doesn't do anything, but maybe it has like just the smallest little tick over to where the bad players get carried ever so slightly like this and then realize Garchomp was A tier. I don't know. Or maybe it gets people looking at Garchomp and then it's like, oh hey, I should be fighting as a Gabite instead of griefing my team. Rant over. Dragon Rush getting buffed, that's actually a solid ratio increase. So, not like giga insane. Which one is it? Level 6. So we look at a level 6 Garchomp, 200 attack, maybe 2 something with items. So an extra 100 damage on the Dragon Rush. But like, this is still showing the Nerf numbers at 74% attack. That's like 30% more damage just in ratio. It's kind of nuts. And then the per level, well, that's also going to be another 30 damage, and then base going up. It's like you get 200 more damage on Dragon Rush for free. Now it's not just a crowd control ability. Now it actually means something, which is pretty good. I feel that Dragon Rush has always been the play over Dig because of that scoop. It's really good. The combo into Dragon Claw, I'm kind of mixed on. Like, sometimes I feel like you want to do it. Other times I feel like you never want to do it. So, like, maybe just getting more understanding on Garchomp figures out, like, the optimal situations on that. But, yeah, like, Garchomp just got 200 more damage at level 6. And, maybe an extra auto attack or two. So, a few hundred more damage right there at level 6. So, I mean, like, yeah, it's actually doing 10% of opponent's health now, just off of that. Could be big enough to scale it. Zeraora fix bug, cause move, deal high damage when hitting many Pokemon on the upgraded version. Bug fix. Cramorant was looking scuffed. Talonflame actually getting buffed because now Gale Wings applies after it gets KO'd. Sometimes that wouldn't happen. So now it's just going to get back onto the map faster after inting. And then the shenanigans. The big nerfs to the... Well, not big nerfs, but the big changes to objectives. Zapdos drops less energy when KO'd. 20 down to 15. So 5 per teammate, that's 25. I wonder like how that interacts with the finishing blow, because I thought you got more for the finishing blow, and then it's doubled because it's in 2 minutes. So my thought of, oh, Zapdos goes from a 500 score to a 450 score is about right. Also, depending on how the Zapdos fight happens, you know, you're just going from like, you're capped on Pokeballs to still capped on energy. So I mean, like, sometimes this matters, sometimes it doesn't. But like, this could flip a couple of percent on like Zapdos win guarantee, you know? Getting Zapdos is like 97% win rate. Because of this, it might go down to like 92% win rate. Just because in like those weird trades or scuffs or a steal from super duper far behind, well, now you don't have that 40 points to tip it back over and you still lose by 18 or something weird. Drednaw gives less shields when KO. Honestly, the shield KO didn't really matter. Like, that usually gets poked off. You don't take Drednaw and then immediately fight. You usually fight and then take Drednaw, and then your shields usually get worn down just by poke or something. This is going to be interesting, though. 25% less experience on the Drednaw. Now, experience is kind of convoluted in Pokemon Unite. However, it's like, if you're losing 2 Drednaws, that's 440 experience. That's probably the difference between like level 11, level 12, level 12, level 13. I think now with this, maybe don't get to level 14 and make it an uber giga stomp. But the thing is like, okay, let's say that the Rotom buffs didn't happen. This in a vacuum. Is Drednaw still a 100% take? Probably, just because that's so much fat experience on your team that you can't find elsewhere. If it was like 500 experience for everyone on your team, yeah, it could give no shield. It's all about this experience. That's why you're taking Drednaw. Gets kind of weird. So it's like, yeah, maybe still I'll take on that. But then Rotom is just stupid. Rotom is, like, in the games I played it, it's giga hyper buffed. Rotom now hacks enemy goal for 25 seconds instead of 15 seconds, so longer opportunity to score. Also, like, when Rotom crashes into second goal, sometimes, since that is a fat goal at the 100 until you break it, sometimes it's like, oh, Rotom wears off and there's still like 15 points left on it. So what this means is you have 10 seconds to farm enemy jungles, or KO one more enemy that's inting into it to stop it, or maybe Audino respawns because by that point you've cracked first goal, and then that's actually enough to break it down. So that can happen there, and then Rotom's movement speed, attack, hit point stat gain, or hit point stats gain a significant boost when it starts heading for the goal. So when it's on your side, it's a 6 champion now. Like, Rotom was hard to KO in solo situations. Like, you had to dedicate at least 2 people to safely take Rotom by yourself. And now it's just stronger. And now it moves more. And now it's harder to KO. And I don't know if this is a result of the speed or a hidden buff, but it teleports, like, it breaks the goal a lot sooner. Like, it'll jump over you to break into the goal. So the range that Rotom hacks is also larger, and that is pretty wacky. So you can't hide in your goal and then protect from Rotom. You have to be out of your goal to protect from Rotom. That makes you vulnerable to the enemy team. That makes you more vulnerable to Rotom. And if you're hiding in your goal, Rotom hacks it, and then you're just dead. So I'm wondering now what the meta is. I have no idea. I plan on doing a video on Theory, maybe today, most likely tomorrow's video after I get more time in on this. And then, like, thinking about alternate playstyles. Like, is it worth 5 top Rotom into second goal for during first Drednaw or something? Like, you get, like, one team chooses go Rotom all game, one team chooses Drednaw all game, and then maybe that's that's just how people play. Or how first and second Rotom is now more valuable than second Drednaw. You still want to fight for first Drednaw, but then you want to use second Rotom to push and break down second goal. And that's where the priorities in the game go. And then second Drednaw maybe stays up until like 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So there's no third Drednaw ever because people are now prioritizing third Rotom. And I'm wondering what happens if you take Rotom at 2 minutes 20 seconds, Rotom crashes into their base, and now you have 25 seconds of Zapdos off of just Rotom in overtime. So can Rotom be worth 500 points now? Is that a valid strategy to where you just trade Zapdos for Rotom push? And if you're already ahead, that means you win because it's 500 versus 500. And depending on how it goes, like maybe Rotom crashes before they're able to bring their Zapdos scores to your base. So this is where it gets abstract. So please close your eyes, imagine the game state for me. Rotom crashes in enemy's base. Your team scores 500 points. You recall. What happened is one person took top on the enemy team, one person took bot on the enemy team, 3 are coming into your base. You throw everything at the 3 coming into your base, and one of them gets KO'd. So before they're able to like insta score off Zapdos, like sometimes it happens. You're trying to move to score, and then you get picked out, you get KO'd, you get stopped. So if like they're trying to push in, one of them gets stopped, your Rotom was worth 500, their Zapdos was worth 400. And since Zapdos gives less points, maybe their Zapdos is only worth 350. Spooky. So the game gets kind of weird. Actually, yeah, also that Zapdos thing means that the second goal might not insta-break from one person. It might take 2 people. So overcapping is a buff to Zapdos score, but it also means that if you're like waiting for your team, like if your teammates are like, come on, break it down, I need to get in, I need to get to the base, I need to score. And if that never happens, well then they get picked out, they never got the chance to score because center never opened up, and then they lose that 100-point score potential. So there's weird stuff happening here. I really like the macro changes. I think the Garchomp buff is cool. Lucario Nerf is potentially incredibly significant, or just decent enough towards like, they did something about Lucario. Could have done more. I would have been happy with more. Venusaur could have gone down to 30%. Blastoise is very significant. I like that. Gengar, I don't know what it does for Gengar, but maybe it does something. And Pikachu needed way more of a buff on everything about Pikachu. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.